on the fount. The one who gave us the intermission number is the assistant school principal of Tandog National High School, the champion in the World Teachers Day 2020 Singing Contest School Head category. Thank you, Ma'am Raquel de la Cruz. The first ever virtual research and innovation summit gave us the vibes to embrace the love for learning. More so, the fervent drive to find solutions to the arising problems we face. SDO SEC bows and celebrates the dedication and brilliance on researches and innovations of the following presenters. With her research title, Solving the Phonetic Difficulties of Readers at Risk Among Grade 1 Learners Through Reading Intervention, Lead to Read program, and Master Teacher 2 of Central 1 Elementary School, Dr. Janice Uzon Abon, joins us. With her research title, Reducing the English-Speaking Anxiety of Senior High School Students Through Idea Generation Techniques, or IGT, and Master Teacher 2 of the RAP National High School, give it up to Dr. Annalyn Dimna Dulagan. With his research title, Responsive Quarterly Assessment System, an intervention for fast, accurate, systematic, and technology-assisted generation of item analysis, a Project Development Officer 2 of SDO SEC. Here's Sir Roldan Bayasbas-Higit.
Good day, everyone. This is Janice Abon of Central 1 Elementary School to share with you the great transformation of engaging myself to the world of research. The educative process involved the conspicuous and relatively abrupt change, a change that catered to the learners through growth and development. Yes, my action research is a great example of profound change informed from one stage of learning to the next. It's metamorphosis. The conducted study focused on solving the phonemic difficulties of readers at risk among grade 1 learners through reading intervention program Lead to Read, an action research. It was published in a reference research journal of DepEd Region 1 called Panagsukisuk. This action research was presented during the first Regional Research Congress at National Educators Academy of the Philippines last year, 2017.
The DepEd, through its K-12 basic education program, puts premium on the learning delivery right at the early stage. Every child deserves to experience quality instruction at an early age to serve as his strong foundation for learning. To help carry out the plans inherent for the K-12 basic education program, problems encountered in literacy skills of children has to be focused through intensified capacity building activities and other development programs, projects, specifically interventions in the educative process. It is on this premise that I come up with an action research titled Solving the Phonemic Difficulties of Readers at Risk Among Grade 1 Learners Through Reading Intervention Program. Learn and direct to read early as you do, a Lead to Read program. It is a handbook which aims to help and guide teachers to teach well and to solve the phonemic difficulties encountered among the grade 1 learners. This program adapted some features of the Early Literacy, Language and Numeracy ELLN program of DepEd and other similar intervention programs with modifications for grade 1 readers at risk. Highlighting the innovation of the action research. The highlighted reading intervention, which was Learn and Direct to Read Early as You Do program, captured my interest to help and innovate the educational system in our school. It made use of a reading intervention program to solve the phonemic difficulties of the readers at risk in grade 1. For conducting my research, mentoring of Sir Renante Camara, the Senior Education Program Specialist of Research and Planning, was facilitated. Part of the mentoring of Sir Renante, we identified the respondents of my study. Some children are at increased risk for reading difficulties. Being at risk does not mean that the child is doomed to be a poor reader, but it does indicate that he or she may need especially close monitoring and prompt intervention to prevent reading difficulties. With the help of my fellow master teachers of Central 1 Elementary School, we empowered learning trust, removing barriers to learning. Early identification and knowing the needs of each learner is essential to provide the appropriate intervention. All children can learn and reach their full potential when they are given opportunities, effective teaching, and appropriate resources. With so many struggling readers with various reading difficulties, it is imperative that teachers not only identify struggling readers, but know the best reading intervention practices. It is important for educational practices to be flexible and responsive to the strengths, needs, and learning preferences of individual learners. This helps create learners to become reader and future leader. Read, lead, succeed. Learn and direct to read early as you do. The abstract of my action research. The study focused on solving the phonemic difficulties of readers at risk among the grade 1 learners of Central 1 Elementary School in District 5, San Carlos City Division for this school year 2016-2017 through the Lead to Read, a reading intervention program. A total of 113 readers at risk served as subjects of the study. They were selected based on the result in pre-test administered reading test as part of the PhilErie. Results of the study showed that the Lead to Read was highly effective in improving the phonemic difficulties of the readers at risk, as shown by the highly significant differences in the performances of the pupils during the pre-test and post-test in all areas of phonemic awareness skills, as manifested by the p-values of 0.000. Likewise, the grade 1 teachers believed that the Lead to Read program is a very effective reading intervention, as shown by the overall mean value of 4.04. Most of the incoming grade 1 learners have deficiency in word recognition skills due to difficulties on phonemic awareness. Evidence of the existence of the problem includes teachers' observations, anecdotal notes, and assessments that indicated low performance and lack of skills of grade 1 pupils to read. In order for learners in grade 1 to become fluent readers who read with comprehension, they need to develop strategies to recognize words with automaticity. Based on the initial reading test result among grade 1 learners of Central 1 Elementary School last school year 2016-2017, it was revealed that out of 315 grade 1 learners, only 97 learners were under the independent level. The three languages, Pangasinan, Filipino, and English, were administered to determine the readability level of the learners. The purpose of implementing interventions that target word-level problems is to help children eventually read words by sight or with automaticity. Some children have difficulty reading words automatically because they do not possess strategies in making letter sound associations. In line with one of the President's 10-point basic education agenda, which states that every child should be a reader by grade 1, the Department of Education is strengthening its reading program through the implementation of the Early Language Literacy and Numeracy program. The program will develop in Filipino children literacy and numeracy skills and attitudes, which will contribute to lifelong learning. That is why I highlighted my program through Learn and Direct to Read early as you do. Lead to Read. Here are the following research questions to be answered in my action research. What is the level of phonemic difficulties of readers at risk before and after the implementation of the Lead to Read reading intervention program in terms of identification, segmentation, blending, phoneme deletion, addition, substitution, and isolation. What is the effectiveness of the reading intervention program administered in solving the phonemic difficulties of readers at risk among grade 1 learners in terms of identification, segmentation, blending, phoneme deletion, addition, substitution, and isolation? Is there a significant difference in the level of phonemic awareness skills of the learners before and after the implementation of the reading intervention program? That is the Lead to Read. Based on the findings of the study, what is the assessment of grade 1 teachers on the effectiveness of Lead to Read intervention program? Study was an action research in its design with 3 phases. Under exploratory phase, search strategy, I go through discovery and analysis of situation and secondary resources, expert interview, group discussions, and individual depth interviews. The process of implementing effective interventions helped teachers and learners initiatives that combined the understanding of what has worked and the opportunities to improve outcomes for a real-world impact. That is under Phase 2, Intervention Implementation. Implementing effective intervention is a process of assuring that key aspects of promising approaches are put into practice as intended and to meet learners' need. Engaging in this process, best practices are proven approaches, strategies, techniques shown to be effective in the implementation of the intervention Lead to Read program. And the last phase, assessment of the effectiveness of the implemented intervention program in solving the reading difficulties of the grade 1 pupils. Assessment means the gathering of information to make critical decisions about a child. A variety of methods are used to gather assessment information, including observations of the child, interviews with the family, checklists and rating scales, informal tests, and standardized and formal tests. Assessment information is useful for identifying the child as eligible for special services, planning instruction, and measuring progress. Of the study, the 113 readers at risk grade 1 learners and 8 teachers in Central 1 Elementary School for the school year 2016-2017. The learners belonging to 8 sections is in grade 1 who were identified as readers at risk. Qualitative and quantitative data collection techniques were employed in the study. Data analysis, frequency counts and percentages, t-tests, and average weighted mean were employed. Coming to you now are the evidences during the implementation process of my action research. result on performance in phonemic. Before the implementation of the reading intervention program, all the pupils who were categorized as readers at risk need improvement in phoneme in all the identified areas. Results also show that the pupils cannot identify a word when hearing the parts of the word, phonemes or syllables in isolation. It has to be noted that pupils who have strong phonological awareness skills demonstrate better literacy skills. The lack of phoneme awareness skills of the pupils has resulted in their very low performances in reading. Thus, they are categorized as readers at risk. Performance in phonemic after the implementation of the reading intervention program, the pupils have performed best along isolation, wherein 8.85% of the pupils have scores rated as advanced and 19.47% as proficient. Only 17.7% needed improvement. To become a skilled reader, children need a rich language and conceptual knowledge base, a broad and deep vocabulary and verbal reasoning abilities to understand messages that are conveyed through print. On the differences in the level of phonemic awareness skills of the pupils before and after the implementation of the reading intervention program, the effectiveness of the reading intervention program in improving the phoneme awareness skills of the pupils was determined by comparing the performance of the pupils in the pre-test and post-test given to them. Highly significant differences were observed in the performances of the pupils during the pre-test and post-test in all areas of phoneme awareness skills. The significance was manifested by the p-values of 0.000. On the assessment of the grade 1 teachers to the effectiveness of Lead to Read program, results of the study show that the grade 1 teachers believed that the Lead to Read is a very effective reading intervention program as manifested by the overall mean value of 4.04. The intervention program was most effective in creating better understanding and allowing for teachers and learners to be well informed and make choices based on current and relevant data, and helping supporting teachers and learners strategies to solve the difficulty in reading. As a researcher, I therefore conclude that the readers at risk have very low phonemic awareness skills, and the Lead to Read program is effective in improving the level of phonemic awareness skills of the pupils categorized as readers at risk. Based on the findings of the study and the conclusions generated, the researcher recommends the utilization of the Lead to Read as a reading intervention program among readers at risk. After the conduct of my research, best practices in reading through the implementation of the Lead to Read program was shared. In conducting my action research on reading intervention program, identifying a problem and finding its best solution were crucial to the realization of effective reading strategy, and also asking my co-teachers to adopt my innovation, Lead to Read, to find out its effectiveness within my target respondents, which are the grade 1 learners.
The journey of research work is never ending because learning is a continuous process for both teachers and learners. As a teacher researcher of San Carlos City Division, let us all learn while you play, because Albert Einstein proved that play is the highest form of research. God gave you a gift of 86,400 seconds today. Have you used one to say thank you? Thank you, San Carlos City Division, for giving us this opportunity to share with you our action research conducted. God bless to everyone. This is Janice Abon signing off.
Hello everyone, I'm Ana Lindy Tulagan, Master Teacher 2 from Torac National High School. My study is about reducing the English-speaking anxiety of senior high school students through idea generation techniques. Fear of English speaking is the most common of all phobias. Anxiety experienced in communication in English can be debilitating and can influence students' adaptation to the target environment and ultimately the achievement of their educational goals. It is one of the affective factors which influence language learning negatively. Over 41% of people have some fear or anxiety dealing with speaking. It was quite alarming that just recently, Filipinos have failed to keep the status as prominent in speaking the English language compared to other Asian countries. Dramatic decrease of competence in the English language skills was reported. There was a big drop in the number of Filipinos who could not speak and think in English. Recent studies have also shown a decline in the country's English proficiency. Concurrently, the researcher observed this scenario among the senior high school students. Conversing with these students, the researcher discovered that most of them fear English speaking. Further, when the students learned that they would do a lot of oral presentations as their output in oral communication class, they cowered and trembled, knowing that the teachers would call them to speak in front. The researcher saw the panic and hesitance on their faces, which implied that they were really self-conscious about speaking in English. Moreover, as the researcher interviewed the students, they told her that they did not have exposures and trainings to English-speaking activities.
As a teacher, the researcher felt that it was very timely that the study would be conducted to address and to reduce, if not to eliminate, the English-speaking anxiety of the students. Many studies on English-speaking anxiety have suggested a variety of strategies to successfully cope with this multifaceted dilemma. Interestingly, all the subjects that have been involved in the process of English language learning and teaching for many years seem to have given adequate thought to the ways of reducing English-speaking anxiety. The most frequent suggestion made was to make the language classroom environment less formal and friendlier, one where students can make mistakes without looking or sounding inept. Another way to create less stressful classroom environment is through the use of idea generation techniques.
Idea generation techniques concentrate on combining or adapting existing ideas which can unquestionably bring out results. These are creative processes or procedures that students may use in order to figure out solutions to difficult challenges, particularly in overcoming speaking anxiety. It involves coming up with many ideas in a group discussion, selecting the best ideas, working to create a plan to implement the idea, and then actually taking that idea and putting it into practice. But here, the researchers' focus is on equipping students with tools that help them leap onto a totally different arena. These approaches push their minds to consider new perspectives, think differently, and forge new connections. The generation of ideas can be stimulated by using and exploring a range of techniques to stimulate innovation and develop new approaches to problems. The following are the techniques used by the researcher in helping students to generate ideas during oral presentations. Defining. A term may have many different senses and multiple meanings and thus require multiple definitions. The students were asked to define a word, phrase, or other set of symbols using the given patterns. Storyboarding. Storyboarding has to do with developing a visual story to explain or explore. Storyboards can help students represent information they gain. Pictures, codes, and other pertinent information are put on the board to stand for scenario and to assist with comprehending the relationships between various ideas. Role-playing. In role-playing technique, each student can take on a personality or role different from his own. As the technique is fun, it can help students reduce the inhibitions and come up with unexpected ideas. Visualization and visual prompts. Visual prompts help a lot when it comes to enabling one's brain to establish connections. These prompts can help surface emotions, feelings, and intuitions. To get started with using picture prompts, the teacher distributed a set of pre-selected images. Each student got one. She also asked them to tell whatever ideas come to their mind when they looked at the image in their possession. After these, students paired off and used additional time, sharing and talking about the ideas they had come up with and brainstorming more solutions to the existing problem or challenge. Lastly, the various pairs presented their ideas to the rest of the group. Daydreaming. Daydreaming is truly one of the most fundamental ways to trigger great ideas. The word daydream itself involuntarily triggers an uninhibited and playful thought process, incorporating the student's creativity and resourcefulness to play around with the present problem. It enables him to establish an emotional connection with a problem, which is beneficial in terms of coming up with a wonderful idea. Brainstorming. Brainstorming is an activity with which most students are familiar. The students brainstorm as the teacher introduces a concept. Naturally, one idea will spark another, so it is helpful to have students to come up with as many examples as they possibly can for whatever topic given to them. They will compile a list of potential examples for a given topic. This is a great activity to do in small groups or with the entire class. Conversely, the ability to generate new ideas is an extremely necessary work skill today. Students can acquire this skill by consciously practicing these techniques that can create a positive atmosphere that boosts creativity. The above premises provided the teacher a strong purpose to conduct an action research which attempted to reduce the English-speaking anxiety of senior high school students through idea generation techniques to enhance their learning. The main problem of the study was to reduce the English-speaking anxiety of senior high school students through idea generation techniques. Specifically, it sought answers to the following problems. 1. What is the level of the respondents' anxiety in their English class before and after the intervention? 2. What is the level of performance of students in oral presentation before and after the intervention? 3. Is there a significant difference on the anxiety level of students before and after the intervention? 4. Is there a significant difference on the performance level of students before and after the intervention? And lastly, is there a significant relationship between the anxiety level and the performance level of students before and after the intervention? The respondents of the study were the 46 grade 11 Archimedes Gas Senior High School students who were enrolled into RAP National High School, San Carlos City, Pangasinan for the school year 2017-2018. The researcher used two paper and pencil instruments. First, the English Language Classroom Anxiety Scale to determine the extent of the respondents' anxiety in their English class. Second, was the teacher's rubric on oral presentations to assess the performance level of the students at the start and at the end of the intervention. Results show that majority of the students exhibited a high level of English-speaking anxiety prior to the intervention, but these anxieties began to wane after the intervention since students exhibited low level of English-speaking anxiety. As to the students' performance level in oral presentations, they performed poorly, getting did not meet expectation performance level before the intervention. However, the students had a very satisfactory performance level after the intervention. With regards to the difference of respondents' scores in the English Language Classroom Anxiety Scale, difference of pre-test and post-test performance, correlation between English anxiety and performance, results show that the difference is significant at 0.05 level of significance. Further, English-speaking anxiety is significantly and negatively correlated with performance in oral presentation of students. Therefore, exposed to the idea generation techniques, the students became less anxious and they performed at high level. Thus, employing the idea generation techniques reduced the students' English-speaking anxiety, cultivated their confidence in handling demanding speaking tasks in the context of real life and class, and encouraged and helped students achieve better and improved performances. It is then recommended to integrate idea generation techniques in teaching, to include facilitating IGTs during school-based learning action cell sessions, and to conduct related studies to ascertain the findings of this study and to achieve better performance in English. As teachers, we have a direct influence in enhancing student learning. We do not only make students feel good about school and learning, but we have to know how to bring out the best in them. Thank you and God bless.
Teachers have multifaceted roles and inevitable responsibilities. Aside from looking into the well-being of learners inside the classrooms and other learning spaces, they devise ways and take initiatives to ensure that DepEd guidelines and policies are adhered to and properly implemented. Nevertheless, if preparations of instructional materials and teaching process alone consume most of the time of teachers, how about the time needed in performing the ancillary tasks, such as checking and recording the written works and exams, and computations of item analysis and grades? Not to forget the preparation of regular forms and other needed documents and reports. How can teachers be very effective and productive if extra hours are still needed for these tasks? Can teachers still address the complex preparations of teaching process if they themselves only sleep for a few hours? My name is Roldan Eden. Join me as I present to you my action research with the title Responsive Quarterly Assessment System, an intervention for fast, accurate, systematic, and technology-assisted generation of item analysis.
In DepEd Order Number 16, Series of 2009, a typical Philippine teacher should render 6 hours of actual classroom teaching in a day as full teaching load, inclusive of other pertinent special assignments. The remaining 2 hours will be used in the preparation of the instructional materials, which is obviously deficient. That is why most of the preparations were done at home, sacrificing family time. With these scenarios are the following questions. How can a teacher be very effective and productive if extra hours are still needed for doing the aforementioned tasks? Can teachers still do complex preparations of learning resources to address diverse needs and perform teaching-related tasks with efficiency? These are the scenarios that prompted the researcher to pursue this study. This study was conducted to facilitate the teachers and assist them in performing their ancillary tasks so that they can focus more on their core functions in the teaching-learning process. Specifically, this study attempted to answer the following sub-problems. First, how long teachers can prepare and compute the item analysis reports using manual procedure? Second, what technology-assisted intervention is developed to address the problems of teachers in performing the stated ancillary tasks? Third, how long teachers can prepare and compute the item analysis reports using the developed intervention? And lastly, is there a significant difference in preparing and computing the item analysis reports based on pre-execution of using the manual procedure and post-execution utilizing the proposed technology-assisted intervention? For my methodology, the one-group design action research was deployed to ascertain the efficiency of the responsive quarterly assessment system in reducing the time of performing the ancillary tasks of teachers. In gathering the data, a time recording sheet was employed to capture the time of preparing the item analysis reports, which were administered to 22 teachers. For this reason, a paired t-test was used to compute the time using the manual procedure and the time consumed in the use of the developed system. Here are the results of the study. Looking at the first table, it was found out that the average time in performing the ancillary task of preparing and computing the item analysis reports using the manual procedure is 58.18 minutes. Therefore, this implies that teachers having 6 classes will also exhaust at an approximate time of 6 hours just to prepare and compute the item analysis reports of his or her classes. However, preparing and computing the item analysis report is not the only ancillary task that teachers have. Due to this, submission of item analysis reports would take them several days. Looking at the second table, it was figured out that the average consumed time in performing the ancillary task of generating the item analysis reports using the developed system is only 1.85 minutes. As a result, a teacher having 6 classes will just entail a total of 11.1 minutes to generate the item analysis reports of his or her classes. For this reason, respondents of the study were contented and astonished on the gauge time of using the developed system. The teachers can now apportion the lesson time to other important school-related tasks and for devoting more quality family time. In this last table, the computed t-value of 81.27 is superior than the critical t-value of 1.68 at 0.05 level of significance. Furthermore, the p-value of 4.96238 raised to negative 28 is beneath the acceptable value of 0.05. Thus, there is a significant difference in the time of performing the ancillary task of generating item analysis reports using the manual procedure compared to the employment of the developed system. This implies that the teachers will apprehend a drastic reduction of time once they utilize the developed system.
Manual system in accomplishing teaching-related tasks is definitely burdensome and time-consuming. Exploring better means in doing things is highly recommendable and adaptable. The technology-assisted interventions generating item analysis will pave the way for more efficient way of doing it. With more works given to teachers, more means must be devised to help them. The intervention used in this research is highly or hereby recommended for use by teachers concerned. If you have questions regarding my research, you may post your inquiries here or you can reach me through my social media accounts. I hope that my research will some way lessen the burden of the teachers. Salamat po at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Dr. Janice Abon, Dr. Annalyn Tulagan, and Sir Roldan Eden. The three presentations are Basic Education Research Fund, or BERF researches. For the Non-Basic Education Research Fund BERF researches and innovations, here's Dr. Elizabeth Fermin Islam, Head Teacher 1 of Bacnar Elementary School, with her research titled Effectiveness of Blended Learning in the Performance of Grade 2 Pupils in Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao, or ESP. Click on.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Elizabeth Fermin Islam, the Head Teacher 1 of Bacnar Elementary School. When I was conducting this action research, I am still Teacher 3 of Central 1 Elementary School. So as we begin, the title of my action research was The Effectiveness of the Blended Learning Strategy in the Performance of the Grade 2 Pupils in the Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao. So the teacher researcher has been teaching Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao in grade 2 for the last 9 years. Since then, she noticed that the pupils are often hard in catching up with the lessons. Most of the pupils lack of interest in the subject because they think that Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao is not interesting, and most of the pupils are not exposed to the use of the digitized instructional materials. This is also evidenced by the dismal results of quizzes and periodical tests. For the past 3 years, these are the results of the periodical tests based on the mean percentage scores, the NPX, of the grade 2 EFM in Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao. For the school year 2018-2019 was 71.43. For the school year 2017 to 2018 was 70.59. And for the school year 2016 to 2017 was 71.03. To improve the situation and help the pupils improve in their performance, the researcher decided to employ the blended learning strategy in teaching the said subject. The purpose of this blended learning strategy is to discover the mixing of digitized instructional materials in instruction. The main focus of this research is to determine the effectiveness of blended learning strategy in teaching Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao 2. Blended learning is a teaching strategy in which the combination of the lecture method in which the teacher uses board and chalk and discussion. At the same time, the teacher uses digitized instructional materials that pupils learn to the delivery of content and instruction. While still attending face-to-face with the pupils, the teacher makes use of digitized instructional materials such as the monitor, laptop, and speaker. It is the aim of the researcher to find out the effectiveness of blended learning strategy in the performance of the grade 2 pupils in Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao. Through this blended learning strategy, the teacher researcher made use of digitized instructional materials through the use of the monitor, laptop, and speaker in teaching strategy. And based on the various researches on blended learning strategy read by the teacher researcher, she was fully convinced that implementing the said strategy could improve the performance of the grade 2 pupils in Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao. Prior to the conduct of the action research, the researcher has already developed the instructional materials that was used in the teaching of Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao. These instructional materials are technology-aided in the form of the audio, video clips, PowerPoint presentation, and so on. These were used hand-in-hand with the traditional learning strategy like the use of the chalkboard, textbook, and charts. The said materials were used in the teaching Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao 2 during the first quarter of the school year 2019 to 2020. Before the tryout of the blended learning strategy, a pre-test was administered to the 38 grade 2 EFM Magalang pupils, and results were used as baseline data in determining the effectiveness of the above-mentioned learning strategy in Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao. After the tryout period, which lasted for 8 weeks, the researcher administered post-tests to the pupils. The pre-test and post-test results using the mean NPS, and index of mastery were analyzed to determine the effectiveness of blended learning strategy in the performance of pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. This study answered the questions how effective the blended learning strategy in the performance of the pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao 2. Specifically, it sought answer to the following sub-problems. So the first one, what is the level of the performance of the grade 2 pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao as revealed by the pre-test results? The second one, what is the level of the performance of the grade 2 pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao as revealed by the post-test results after exposing the class in blended learning strategy? The last one, what is the level of the effectiveness of the blended learning strategy in the performance of the grade 2 pupils based on the pre-test and the post-test results? The participants of this action research are the 38 grade 2 pupils in Central 1 Elementary School, San Carlos City Division, during the school year 2019 to 2020. The sources of the data used in this research were the pre-test and the post-test results administered to the grade 2 pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. The pre-test was administered before the tryout of the blended learning strategy and the start of the first quarter. After the tryout, post-test was administered. Using the pre-test and the post-test results, the mean percentage scores or indices of mastery were used to determine the level of effectiveness of the blended learning strategy. For the data gathering method, the researcher administered a pre-test at the start of the first quarter and after the tryout of the blended learning strategy and edukasyon sa pagpapakatao 2, post-test was also administered. The data were classified, tabulated, and tallied. The mean percentage and index of mastery were used to determine the performance of the pupils and the level of effectiveness of the blended learning strategy. For the evaluation criteria, the data gathering instrument used in this study is the pre-test and post-test. The data gathered were analyzed, tallied, and interpreted using the mean percentage scores, and the index of mastery. For the research design, the action research design employed the descriptive method of research. This method was used to describe the prevailing condition and situation during the conduct of the study. For the result and discussion, at the start of the first quarter, the teacher-researcher administered a 30-item pre-test to the grade 2 pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. It could be noted on the table 1 that the pupils obtained a mean of 13.28 and a mean percentage score of 43.27. Based on these results, the pupils seem to have not mastered the lessons covering the first quarter. So here, this is the table of the pre-test and the post-test results in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao 2. For the post-test, the mean was 13.28. For the mean percentage score, 23.41. And the index of mastery was NM, or the not mastered. And for the post-test, the mean was 8.55. For the mean percentage score, 78.08. And for the index of mastery was M, or mastered. After the tryout of the blended learning strategy in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao 2, the post-test was administered and as shown on the same table. A mean of 23.41 and the mean percentage score obtained by the pupils was 78.02 and the index of mastery level of mastered. Analysis of the results showed that the increase of mean percentage score showed an improvement in the performance of the pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. Whereas, the index of mastery, which was 78.02, showed that the pupils have mastered the lessons covered during the tryout. It could be deduced that the blended learning strategy was very effective in the teaching learning activities in the above-mentioned subject. So for the conclusion, based on these results, it could be said that there is an improvement in the performance of the grade 2 pupils with the use of the blended learning strategy in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. The pupils obtained mastered in index of mastery level based on post-test results showed. It could be deduced that blended learning is an effective strategy that could enhance the performance of grade 2 pupils in edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. From the blended learning method also develops the relationship between the parent and the child in undertaking the lessons, and as the DepEd says, that we need to cope up and find remedies amidst this pandemic, that education must continue and no child will left behind. That is why teachers are reaching their learners to learn by giving them different modalities with quality education. And it is recommended that the blended learning is one of the modalities that the teacher can use, the combination of adult modules and the use of digitized instructional materials. The teaching of values aims to mold young minds, to put to practice discernment and judgment of what deserves importance and usefulness of anything in relating with other people. This has something to do with the person's principles, standard, or behavior, or judgments, or what is important in life. So in order to enhance the abilities of learners to value desirable traits and qualities, the teacher should use a variety of strategies in teaching the subject. One effective learning strategy is the blended learning, wherein the teacher could combine both conventional and technological integrated in the teaching learning activities. Through these changes made in our new normal education system, and amidst the pandemic, the welfare of the learner must always be our primordial concern. Teachers must never take children's welfare for granted. When we teach, let us not only aim to teach edukasyon sa pagpapakatao, but how it could be applied in real life. Above all, teachers must do their best to deliver quality education to adhere to the needs of new normal global competition. So thank you and God bless everyone.
Worrying about the reading progress of the learners, the next presenter come up with her research title, Pagpapataas ng Antas sa Pagbasa, Pasalita, sa ikatlong baitang gamit ang bilog na marungko. Please welcome the proponent of this work, Ma'am Roslyn Diaz Rosario, Master Teacher 1 of the Mata Elementary School.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat. Ako po si Ginang Roslyn Diaz Rosario, Master Teacher 1 ng Gamata Elementary School, San Carlos City Division. Ang iprepresenta ko po sa inyo ngayon ay ang ginawa kong thesis na may pamagat na Pagpapataas ng Antas sa Pagbasa, Pasalita sa ikatlong baitang gamit ang dulog ng marungko. Ang pagbasa ay isa sa mga pinakamahalagang kasanayan na dapat dinangin sa mga bata habang sila ay nasa kinder ang pagkakataon. Nagkaroon ng paunang pagkataya sa pagbasa o tinatawag na Philippine Informal Reading Method, PIRM, sa mababang paaralan ng mga. Batay sa resulta ng pre-test noong 2017, mula sa 50 bilang ng mag-aaral, may 11 bata o 22% ang di marunong magbasa o non-readers. 29 na bata o 58% ang nasa antas pagkabiko. 6 na bilang o 12% ang nasa antas pampagkatuto o instructional at 4 na bata o 8% ang nasa antas malaya o independent. Dahil dito, iminungkahi kong gamitin ang dulog ng marungko upang mapataas ang antas sa pagbasa ng mga bata. Ano nga ba ang marungko? Ang dulog ng marungko ay isang paraan upang malinang ang kakayahan ng mga bata sa pagbasa. Ito ay ginagamit din upang mapaunlad ang kasanayan sa pagkilala at pagbigkas ng wasto ang bawat titik ng alpabetong Filipino. Layunin din ito na mapabilis ang pagkatuto ng mga bata sa pagbasa at mabawasan ang bilang ng mga batang hindi alam magbasa o non-readers. Unang tanong, ano ang antas sa pagbasa ng ikatlong baitang sa mga sumusunod? Pagkilala sa tunog ng alpabeto, pagbasa ng mga pantig, pagbasa ng mga salita, at pagbasa ng talata. Pangalawang tanong, ano ang epekto ng dulog na marungko sa pagbabasa ng mga bata? Para sa disenyo ng pag-aaral, ginamit ko ang paglarawang paraan o descriptive. At para malaman ang antas sa pagbasa, ginamit ang formulang ito. Tunog o pantig o salitang nabasa divided by bilang ng tunog, pantig ng salita times 100. Gumamit din tayo ng Likert scale. Ginamit ang Likert scale upang makuha ang antas sa pagbasa ng mga bata at mabigyan ng interpretasyong verbal ang mga ito gamit ang 6 na disenyo sa pagbasa. 90 hanggang 100, pinakamataas na level ng pagbasa. 70 hanggang 80 na porsyento, mataas na level sa pagbasa. 50 hanggang 69 na porsyento, katamtamang level sa pagbasa. 30 hanggang 49 na porsyento, mababang level sa pagbasa. 10 hanggang 29 na porsyento, pinakamababang level sa pagbasa. At 0 hanggang 9 na porsyento, hindi marunong magbasa. Upang malaman ang epekto ng dulog ng marungko sa pagpapataas ng antas sa pagbasa, ginamit ang t-test kung saan pinaghambing ang unang pagtataya o pre-test at panapos ng pagtataya o post-test. Dulog ng marungko, magiging epekto sa performance ng di marunong magbasa. Para sa presentasyon, pagsusuri at interpretasyon ng datos, narito ang mga resulta. Para sa antas ng pagbasa sa pagkilala ng tunog, base sa resulta, ang antas sa pagbasa ng pagkilala ng tunog ng mga bata sa ikatlong baitang ay mataas na may 82 at 18% ng post-test kumpara sa 5 at 81% ng pre-test. 2 bata ang may katamtamang level sa pagkilala ng tunog. 8 bata ang may mataas na level sa pagkilala ng tunog ng alpabeto at 1 naman ang may pinakamataas na level sa pagkilala ng mga tunog kumpara sa pre-test, kung saan ang 2 bata ang nasa pinakamababang level sa pagbasa at 9 naman ang hindi marunong magbasa. Nangangahulugang ang dulog ng marungko ay nakatulong sa pagkilala ng mga tunog ng mga alpabet. Para sa antas sa pagbasa sa pantig, base sa NPS na 78 at 40, mataas ang level sa pagbasa ng pantig ng mga bata sa ikatlong baitang mula sa NPS na 4 at 54 na may katumbas na hindi marunong magbasa sa pre-test. Dahil sa pagsasama-sama ng mga tunog na basa ng mga batang pantig. 4 sa mga bata ang may pinakamataas na level sa pagbasa ng pantig, 4 din ang may mataas na level at 3 naman ang nakakuha ng katamtamang level sa pagbasa. Para sa antas ng pagbasa sa salita, matutunghayan sa datos na nakalap na mataas ang level ng mga bata sa ikatlong baitang sa pagbasa ng mga salita na may MPS na at 1 mula sa level na hindi marunong magbasa at may MPS na wala. 5 sa kanila ang may katamtamang level sa pagbasa, 4 ang may pinakamataas na level sa pagbasa ng salita at 2 ang may mataas na level sa pagbasa ng mga salita. Antas sa pagbasa ng talata. Base sa talahan na yan, mataas ang level ng mga bata sa ikatlong baitang sa pagbasa ng talata na may MPS na 84 at 84 mula sa MPS na 3 at 3 na hindi marunong mabasa. Anim sa mga bata ang may pinakamataas na level sa pagbasa ng talata at 5 naman ang may katamtamang level sa pagbasa ng talata. Para sa epekto ng dulog ng marungko sa pagpapataas ng antas sa pagbasa, base sa talahan na yan, makikita ang significant value ng lahat ng kasanayan na 0.006 to mas mababa sa itinakda na 0.05 level of significance. Masasabing malaki ang epekto ng dulog ng marungko sa pagpapataas ng antas sa pagbasa ng mga bata sa ikatlong baitang. Dahil sa 10 lingguhang pagtuturo, ang mga bata ay marunong na bumasa. Para sa conclusion, batay sa ginawang pag-aaral ng 11 mag-aaral sa paaralang elementarya ng Gamata, ay nabatid ang mga susunod. Gamit ang dulog ng marungko, madaling natutong bumasa ang mga bata sa loob ng 10 linggo. Mapatataas ang level sa pagkilala ng mga tunog, pantig, salita at talata ng mga bata gamit dulog ng marungko. Mawawala o mababawasan ang mga batang hindi marunong bumasa kung bubugulin ang remediation time sa pagbabasa. At ang aking rekomendasyon, gamitin ang dulog ng marungko mula kinder at unang baitang upang mapadali ang pagkilala ng mga bata sa tunog. Mapapadali rin ang pagbasa sa mga pantig. Gamitin ang dulog ng marungko bilang intervention sa mga batang slow readers o non-readers o ang mga batang hindi marunong magbasa sa iba't ibang bayan. Magkaroon ng maraming basahin sa silid-aralan upang may mabasa ang bata araw-araw. Hikayatin ang mga bata na magbasa sa kanilang libreng oras. Kailangan ding magtiyaga ang mga guro sa pagtuturo ng mag-aaral na hindi pa marunong magbasa. At ang panghuli, bumuo ng gawain bilang sa kakayahan ng mga mag-aaral sa pagbasa.
Lingering with the idea of crafting something new, Sir Alfred Sanchez Rosario, head teacher 1 of Abanon Elementary School, proposed innovative work plan in sports, enhanced training program for grade 4 to 6 of players in volleyball of Balitisur Elementary School. Presentation played on.
Good day everyone, I'm Alfred S. Rosario and I'll be presenting my innovative training project entitled Enhanced Training Program of Grade 4 to 6 Pool of Players in Volleyball at Balitisur Elementary School. In today's modern and competitive world of sports, world-class athletes in all levels of sports disciplines are imperative. Producing highly competitive athletes really depends on the quality of trainings, equipment and facilities catered in the grassroots, particularly in the elementary level. Sports trainers do not just teach their players, but they also guide them. Therefore, the sports trainers play a very important role in the acquisition of specific skills of the athletes, inside and outside of the playing court. The sports trainers need to plan on how to make the training productive and interesting. The implementation of the work plan is through the collaborative effort of our trainer, Sir Raul S. Bautista, coaches, yours truly, and Mr. Rinaldo Vittorio, and our chaperone, Ms. Venus C. Ferrer, who taught and guided athletes to learn values and specific skills needed in playing volleyball. With the school support and continuous encouragement of our school head, faculty and staff of Balitusur Elementary School, and for the trust of the parents, which is really one of the indispensable factors in the success of the work plan implementation. The method of sports training program, which will not sacrifice the academic time schedule of athletes, by means of training program, the individual players is also guided in what part of the playing styles are to be appreciated and what attitudes are to be developed. It is also through this program that the athlete acquired habits, teamwork, skills, and self-discipline, and most importantly, motivate pupils to love sports, especially those honor aspiring pupils, because they know that their academic subjects or learning is not affected while joining such training activity. It is for this reason that the year-round training project in volleyball titled Enhanced Training Program for Grade 4 to 6 Players in Volleyball was implemented at Balitusur Elementary School to provide athletes opportunity to gain knowledge and skills on the rules and regulations in playing competitive volleyball. Before, we spent 3 days preparation for the competition, but we realized it will take years of training to be a champion. Before, we're using substandard playing court, substandard net. As a result of this, we're producing volleyball players not intended for higher level of competition. That's why we conceptualized an innovative training program for grade 4 to 6 pool of players in volleyball at Balitusur Elementary School. I present to you our training design utilized in this innovative project. Always remember that it is important that we have to integrate games in giving volleyball drills in order to make it enjoyable, especially for elementary athletes, at the same time achieving the main purpose of the activity so that they will not find it as a command or an obligation. Significance of the program. The training program improves the playing performance of the athletes, particularly in the grassroots level. This was also served as a venue to give an equal opportunity to other pupils to excel in their field of interest. Furthermore, sports contributed to character building and personality development. Project objectives, strategies, and methodology. Project aims to provide athletes opportunity to gain knowledge and skills on the rules and regulations in playing volleyball. Specifically aims to achieve better playing outcomes of athletes during higher meets, district meet, division meet, R1AA meet, even up to palarong pambansa. Demonstrate essential skills in playing volleyball. And lastly, develop the spirit of sportsmanship and other values needed amongst athletes. Here are the strategies done in the training program. Athletes were trained regularly to acquire the needed skills in volleyball by trainers and coaches following the training design and matrix. Conducted lectures on sports psychology, volleyball rules, and the like. Viewing on compiled videos of volleyball games, volleyball drills and workouts, as well as inspirational videos. Conducted activities that build teamwork among players. Tune-up games with stronger teams, home-away games, and practicing to other venues so that players were continuously motivated and inspired to show their best. Tune-up games done to other division,
conducted Saturday practices as scheduled, conducted tutorials to athletes with academic struggles. Project risk management. Our number one rule: players are not allowed to practice without the supervision of coaches and trainers. To ensure safety as well as to avoid possible accident may happen during the training. If practice ended late in the afternoon, those players reside on a far sitio of Balitisur will be accompanied by the coaches going back to their home. One way to build teamwork in volleyball is to have the team hang out and do an activity that has nothing to do with volleyball. Have them take their lunch together. It's a perfect time to share some jokes and laugh together. Part of the work plan is to have tune-up games with stronger teams to measure the weaknesses and strengths, as well as the readiness of the players to compete in higher meets. Tune-up results were used for adjustment of plays and strategies for actual competition. We also conducted home-away games or practice to other playing venues to maintain the excitement of our players because of the new environment. Among our most visited schools were Matangkawa Elementary School, Bayawas Integrated School, Orvistondo National High School, Pacnar Elementary School, Central 1 Elementary School, Gamata Elementary School, Nilimasan Elementary School, Lulusan Kaingal Elementary School, St. Charles Academy, and Torak Elementary School. Ang Carl City Volleyball Team Elementary Girls won back-to-back championship last R1AA Meet 2016 held at Bulingit, San Carlos City, Pangasinan, and R1AA Meet 2017 held at Vigan, Ilocos Sur, with no recorded loss in 2 years. In R1AA Meet 2018 held at Manawag, Pangasinan, SDC Volleyball Girls Elementary Team won silver medal but regained our championship crown last R1AA Meet 2019 held at Ilocos Norte. It's not enough to secure athletes' parents' consent. In addition, we have to gain trust and confidence that their child is safe and well taken care of.
On top of all of this is one big secret, and that is passion for sports. Training athletes is not just a job or work to be done. Instead, it is something to be enjoyed while doing. And most of all is the love for what we are doing.
Thank you, Dr. Elizabeth Mislang, Ma'am Rosa Rosario, and Sir Alfred Rosario. There you have it, our SDO SEC pride in the world of research and innovations. Kudos to all of you. Meantime, Schools Division Superintendent Dr. Lourdes Servito delivers her words of challenge to all the research and innovation advocates. Let's have the straight fount of information.
For my words of challenge, I know that you've been waiting for this, and I always say that whenever I am asked to give inspirational messages, I challenge you more. And so here's my challenge to all of you, my dear master teachers, key teachers, and of course, all others who are enthusiastic of research. For SDO San Carlos City, our goal is to come up with at least 100 researchers because we have more than 100 master teachers. So that will be the least, right? And if we can make it 300, why not? So again, another project of ours in relation to research and innovations is for us to come up with a research journal and an electronic research hub where all researchers can interact with each other online and even offline. So let us revolutionize research, as I was saying, in our schools division office, San Carlos City. And I am always behind all these endeavors. So, well, the additional challenge, if you remember the message of our regional director, he said that we have to utilize the findings or the results of our researches, because if we don't, then these endeavors will be useless, okay? So after coming up with the researches, then we will put this into use and come up with innovations, policies, or some improvements in the things that we do. So I know that research is not really that easy, but I think whatever work it is, if you enjoy doing it, it's not gonna be that difficult at all, right? So let's enjoy our work. As I always say, the privilege to work is a gift, and the power to work is a blessing. And of course, if you love your work, then that would mean success. So this one is my favorite quotation from David O. McKay. So that's my challenge. Everyone, I hope you're willing to accept it. Thank you.
Thank you, SDS Lourdes Servito. Conducting research and coming up with worthy innovations are of great importance in our field, thus really calls for an action. With this, Ma'am Flordelisa Pindawan and Sir Marito Austria, Presidents, Division Master Teachers Association in the elementary and secondary respectively, accept the challenge. Here are the details.
Aloha! May I give my respect first to our school's division superintendent, Dr. Lourdes Servito, our assistant schools division superintendent, Dr. Diosdado Cayabyab, to the CID family headed by Dr. Editha R. Pridas, S. Good family headed by Sir Amor Gloria, to Sir Renante Camara and the rest of his team, my fellow master teachers, and to the rest of the servants in the public service, a blessed day. Everything rises and falls on leadership, says Dr. Maxwell. With this, San Carlos City Division is always been blessed to have leaders with unique giftings. Now we have Ma'am Lourdes Servito, who has a unique identity when it comes to leadership. I've just met her once or twice, but through her words, you can determine what's in her heart. And I can sense her passion and sincerity when it comes to research, which I believed that would go beyond what is expected. So with this, in behalf of the Division Elementary Master Teachers Association, ma'am, challenge accepted. And we will couple it with action. Action, research. Thank you and God bless us all.
To our affable Senior Education Program Specialist in Planning and Research, Mr. Renante M. Camara, the ever-dynamic EPS in SGOD, Mr. Marlon B. Icol, the quick-witted Chief of the SGOD, Mr. Villamor Q. Gloria, equally quick-witted Chief of the CIT, Dr. Edita R. Pridas, the proactive and hardworking Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Diosdado I. Cayabyab, the ever-supportive and diligent Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Lourdes D. Servito. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day. One of my favorite scientists and Nobel Prize awardee once said, "Research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought." Research really plays an important role in our daily lives. It exercises our minds and helps us in our studies. It sharpens our brains and allows us to be creative, imaginative, and innovative. It could also be helpful to a project to succeed. It is also an invaluable tool in building crucial knowledge. It's the most reliable way to understand the complexities of various issues to maintain our integrity as we disprove lies and uphold important truth. With this timely and very important program initiated by our Schools Division Office through the initiative of our dear Superintendent, research will become a byword of every teacher in our division. Thank you for this given opportunity to be a part of this first SDO Virtual Research and Innovation Summit. I, Marlito V. Austria, President of the Division Secondary Master Teachers Association, calling upon all secondary master teachers out there to positively respond to the call of our dear Superintendent. Let us come up with a research proposal which will enable us to solve various issues in our educational system and to make our clientele cope up with the demands of the education's new normal setting. Let the call reverberate in the hearts and minds of every educator so that we can improve our crafts and practices in bringing education to our students.
Thank you, Ma'am Flordelisa Pindawan and Sir Marlito Austria. After witnessing all the presentations made, the DepEd family expects each of us to ignite even more the love for research and innovations. Way to go! To get more on this program, here's the School Governance and Operations Division SDO Chief, Dr. Villamor Gloria, for the finale remarks.
To our esteemed Regional Director, Director Tolentino Aquino, Assistant Regional Director Ronald Castillo, Region 1 PPRD Chief Dr. Cecilia Resido, Dr. Lourdes Servito, the Schools Division Superintendent of San Carlos City, Dr. Diosdado Cayabyab, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Edita Pridas, CID Chief, research presenters, school heads, teachers, and all other personnel of the Schools Division of San Carlos City, good day to one and all. Conducting an action research is vital for the improvement of a learning institution. By carrying out an action research, the teacher comes up with specific solutions to improve teaching and the overall performance of the learners. Teachers also become empowered and come up with the creative ideas that help them to meet the needs of the learners. Perhaps even more important is the fact that action research helps teachers to be more effective at what they care most about, their teaching and the development of their students. Seeing students grow is probably the greatest joy teachers can experience. When teachers have convincing evidence that their work has made a real difference in their students' lives, the countless hours and the endless efforts of teaching seems worthwhile. Now that the Department of Education and our millions of learners face enormous challenges in the new normal, teachers are encouraged to experiment, to inquire, and to work to address this present educational problem. Doing this can ensure quality basic education to all learners, especially in these difficult times. So, the time is right for action research. The teachers, schools, and school systems that seize this opportunity and begin investing in the power of inquiry will find it as a meaningful and rewarding pursuit. To our dear teachers, continue to engage in the professional inquiry that will benefit you, your teaching, and your learning. Thank you, and more power.
Thank you, SDO Chief Dr. Villamor Gloria. You have watched the rundown of big stories in the SEC News, The Fact, where the latest information is delivered and gathering it directly from the newsmakers themselves. I am Rafi Garcia, and that's the wrap.